think, Judy told me nodded at me, we're going to open it up, and I'm sure you gentlemen won't mind fielding a few questions. Does anybody have any questions for the candidates?
Healthcare questions? Come on now.
Maybe I'll ask a question.
Okay, go ahead, sir.
Not an original question. It was asked at the luncheon the other day. What are your positions on labor unions and the Department of Labor in Mississippi?
Where do you want to start?
I'll answer. I'm not for labor, the Department of Labor. I think it's just another addition to government that we don't really need. If you look at the way I feel about government, we need to shrink government instead of increasing government. And one of the things I'd like to address just a little bit about this Medicaid cut and things like that. I have a daughter that's a certified nurse practitioner. The people that she saw in her office that were cut off this program, she said needed to be cut. We have to purge the roles in everything. As everything gets filled up, we need to take a look at things and don't let them just stay the same because, hey, they got on it one time and they need to stay there. That's not necessarily the truth. But I'm not for the Department of Labor.
Is that question open to anybody?
Anybody else?
Well, I am on record as voting against the Department of Labor in the state in the 07 legislation.
The Department of Labor in Mississippi is unnecessary. There's already an EEOC to handle those kind of things, but of conflicts that happen in the workplace. But it's just another layer of bureaucracy that we don't need. The people of Mississippi need jobs and opportunity and a chance to show that the Mississippi worker is every bit as good as a worker from Ohio or Michigan or Mexico or China. Last thing we need is another bureaucracy to slow our progress down. Anybody want to contend that?
Why not? I don't know enough about the proposal to create a Department of Labor since I haven't been in Jackson and read all the bills to speak very informatively on it. I think if it could make government more efficient somehow, reorganization is something businesses do all the time if it makes financial sense or if it helps the state government serve the public better. There are a lot of programs out there through the housing programs and everything else, Department of Health and Human Services, that probably could stand to have a little better oversight from what I've seen. If creating a Department of Labor would help that, not cost the state any money and not hurt the pro-business climate, that would be one option to examine. And as far as the one topic that nobody chose to address, labor unions. We don't have many of them around here. It's not that big of a deal. But you look at the Toyota plant, which is the largest single economic development investment in the history of this part of the state. Brown and Root is the general contractor, and it's a union job. So whatever your opinion is about labor unions, we better, in Northeast Mississippi, come to understand what they do and how we should interact with them better, or I think we'll be hurting ourselves. I'm not saying we need union shops all over the place. We got a good right to work act, and that's all well and good. But a knee-jerk reaction to discount the presence of those folks, especially when the automotive sector is coming in here, I think would be unwise.
I got to say, I think that the CEO Kiyoshi Furuta would be the first to jump on the bandwagon and say that if this was a union state, Toyota would not have looked at Mississippi twice. So if we were a labor union oriented state, I think Toyota would probably be in Alabama or somewhere else. I'm personally very thankful they're coming here.
Toyota's national headquarters is located in Kentucky, which is a union state. They went there first in 1982, so I don't know the CEO of Toyota, and I've never spoken with him, but I wouldn't feel comfortable taking that as the gospel either.
Yes, sir.
I have a question. Today in the Journal, and you may have read it, Mr. Harrison made a article talking about the grocery tax debate in Mississippi. And the gist of the article basically was that any politician that continues to use the municipality shortfall as an excuse for not lowering our grocery taxes on our citizens was really being, was trying to fool everybody, trying to pull the wool over his voters' eyes. So my question to all of you now is, if elected, what would you do concerning Mississippi having the highest taxes on the poorest people in the entire United States on groceries?
That's pretty simple. I'd just vote against it right off the bat, nay. Done with it. Cut grocery tax.
Anybody else? Richard?
I'm on record in '07 for voting to decrease the grocery tax. And I'm also on record in '04, '05, and '06 as voting against it. In '05 and '06, our state was not fiscally responsible enough that they could shore up the small towns and municipalities. Now, Mr. Harrison has made a statement, and Mr. Harrison didn't give you any figures. Now, there is a potential shortfall. And because I know, because I was in the grocery business for 30 years, and I know the contribution of that to the community much more than Bobby Harrison does, because of my association with that. But now today, our state is fiscally responsible and fit to reimburse these small towns and municipalities. I voted to reduce that grocery tax this past year in '07, and I will do that again next year if the revenue continues to come in as it is right now. Thank you.
I've got a little different take on that. I've talked to grocers in the Golden, Belmont area of District 19. One in particular gave me these figures. He said, in the last year, I sent $75,000 in grocery taxes to the state of Mississippi. He said, you cut that in half, and I'll send $37,500. He said, you increase the tobacco tax that's supposed to go along with this. And the other thing, I've got another question about that is, I have never seen the mechanism that says where this money and how it will be funded back to these municipalities. There's never been a mechanism that I have seen set up to know that it's coming back through something. They just said, we'll refund it as the government. But everybody's business is nobody's business. And he said, if you raise the tobacco tax, he said, I pay $40,000 in tobacco taxes to the state of Mississippi. He said, the state of Mississippi would lose that $40,000 because people from my area would go to Alabama and buy cigarettes, and the $40,000 would just be nil. That's $77,000 out of one store in the state of Mississippi. How many stores line the different states that border us? Another thing is, we talk about illegal aliens in this state and how much they cost us. What taxes do they pay? They eat. Do they not?
Sales tax, that's it.
They do. They eat. So why not, instead of worrying about the grocery tax where we would share our funding, our tax cut with these other states around us, why not give the people in the working class or in the elderly class a tax break and let the money go right back to them? Another thing you got to think about when you talk about the grocery tax is that it doesn't cover, it may cover Coke, I'm not sure, but it doesn't cover like the toilet tissues and the Dow bathroom cleaners and the laundry detergents and the other things you buy at a grocery store sometimes. People look at that bill and they think, well, hey, I'll get 3% off all this stuff. That bill only covered edible merchandise. So it would not be as great a tax break as a lot of people portray it to be. There's other things that we've got to think about, and there's better ways of doing things, folks. That's why we need fresh ideas down in Jackson.
Okay, I'm the only one.
Got to do this,
I personally support cutting or eliminating the grocery tax because that is a tax on everyone, whether they're on a fixed income, someone that has worked all their lives in a factory, is only drawing Social Security, and is living on $600 or $700 a month. That's money that they are being taxed on. We're just recirculating our tax dollars back to them. And we need to cut. I think it's a good tax to cut. Mississippi is also one of the cheapest taxes on the gaming industry. There's a lot of other places we could shift the tax burden and take it off of working poor and people on fixed income. So I would support cutting or eliminating our grocery tax because we do have the highest grocery tax in the nation.